Well, welcome to another taping of SKST Radio. We are here at the 757 Indie Authors Expo, and today is just been awesome. We have phenomenal guests, and then we have Dr. Obi here. Did I say it right? Yes, I did right. Yay! We have Dr. Obi here to talk about her book. She actually have a few of them in her hand. Let me hold one of them, two of them. There you go. So she's here to talk about her books. She even have children books. So first of all, let's talk about you. How did you get started writing?
Okay, well, thank you. It's truly an honor to be here today. Like Cami said, my name is Dr. Ngozi Obi, and I'm an author, but I'm also a pharmacist. And a lot of people like to know how I became a pharmacist and an author. I've always loved books. As a
Okay.
child, I loved the Curious George series of books.
Yes.
I didn't like Cat in the Hat because it was repetitive, and I found that boring. But going from Curious George, I enjoyed him because I was adventurous just like him.
Okay.
And going from him on up to the Laura Ingalls Wilder series of books, up to Shakespeare in high school and college. But I grew up in an African home.
Okay.
So I couldn't necessarily aspire to be an author or a journalist. As a matter of fact, true story, I came home December for winter break,
Okay.
and that was my first semester in college, and both my parents were sitting on the couch. So I'm excited because a journalist had just talked to us the previous semester, and I'm like, oh my gosh, mom and dad, I'm going to change my major, I'm going to become a journalist. And my dad is like, do you like to eat? Of course I like to eat. What do you mean, do I like to eat?
You're right.
He said, journalists don't eat.
Oh
So he dashed my dreams of becoming a journalist because growing up in an African home, if you're not a lawyer, doctor, engineer, then, they're just shaking their head. This child is not going to make it. So I find my way as a pharmacist in the medical field, but I never lost my love for books.
no. Good.
And I actually started writing my very first book. I don't have it here with me, Love's Destiny. Before I went to pharmacy school, laid it down for pharmacy school and picked it back up again after pharmacy school because my mother got sick. And it became a way for me to escape all that was going on. And here we are, three published novels, historical fiction, Land of the Rising Sun, two children's books, a Woman of Purpose anthology, and here we are.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Okay, so we don't have your first book, but tell us about how did you go from writing these type of books to children books?
Well, actually, my first three books are all novels.
Okay.
And then the children's books I actually started writing because in 2019 I was at a book fair in Richmond, and all these little kids kept coming up,
Looking for a book.
looking for a book, and I'm like, can't read these. So I was like, well, I better, do something. And I figured if I was going to do something, then it had to be educational. And that's how Timmy's Time Tale was born. Timmy's Time Tale actually teaches ages 6 and up how to tell time on the analog clock.
Nice.
Yeah, and Timmy had to be African American because I think inclusion is important. When I actually started doing the research before I wrote the book, I found out that only 2% of all published children's books, are inclusive of African Americans, Latinos, or what have you. And inclusion matters. So the more, we can do this, the better.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, Land of the Rising Sun, this is very dear to my heart. It's actually a book about a war that happened in southeastern Nigeria. Both of my parents were in that war before they came to this country.
Okay.
My dad was an army captain. My mom was a nurse in the war. And most people don't know, but Nigeria in itself is a British experience. They lumped over 330 tribes and sub-tribes into one country. When you do that, who's going to rule who?
Right.
So there were a lot of issues, and people wanted to separate. In this particular part, the Igbo tribe in the southeastern portion wanted to separate. And they actually took the name that they wanted to name the country from what that area was called before it was amalgamated into Nigeria, which is called Bight of Biafra.
Okay.
It was a very brutal war, and I wasn't born then or there. But my parents always talked about it and the woes that they went during the war. And when I was old enough to research it, what really tugged at my heart were the Biafran Kwashiorkor children that became the unlikely faces of the war.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
because one of Nigeria's policy to defeat Biafra was with starvation. Adults can handle a little bit, but with kids, it's very hard to do. So in 2017, actually, there was like a resurgence for Biafra, and my father had the opportunity to speak to some kids about it. And when he came home, he was distraught. He said they don't understand that it's not just about carrying placards and saying you want a nation. People actually die. So I said, well, I need to write a book. And the book is actually done in three parts. The first part of the book is the historical portion of it. And it kind of gives you the history of how Nigeria became a nation and the problems that plagued it to cause the war. The middle portion, the fictional tale, is the actual indigent experience. So during the war. So what I did was I took all the stories that I heard at the dinner table and then I wrote a backstory to connect them all. So you don't know which one is which. They're just, connected. And of course the last portion is the Biafra Kwashiorkor children who became the unlikely faces of the war.
Wow.
Yeah, and we just did an audio book. Actually, finished it August of last year, and we're in the midst of doing a documentary for this book and the history of the Igbo men as
Wow.
well.
Interesting. Well, tell us about this one, Women
Okay.
of Purpose.
Women of Purpose anthology we did in 2018, and it's a collab with 30 women.
Okay.
And each woman has written a chapter in the book talking about how they're fulfilling their purpose, the obstacles they had to overcome to fulfill their purpose, to kind of encourage others to go out and fulfill their purpose.
Okay.
Because a lot of times we want to start and be like, oh, well, I can't do it because, or, if I get started, but, this is stopping. And this really like shows people that, you can fulfill your purpose despite whatever challenges are out there. There are people doing it. And if they're doing it, surely you can do the same.
Right. Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Well, so tell the audience how they can purchase any of your books.
Okay. You can purchase all of my books. They're everywhere books are sold online. You can go to ladyofdestiny.com. That's my website. And click on the different links, Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, iTunes, or iBooks it's called. And you can purchase it from there.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And oh my
Thank you
gosh.
so much. It's really a pleasure to be here today.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll see you again over at the presentation, right?
Yes,
Sounds
you
good.
will.
SKST Radio, guys, go get this book. I mean, this is so inspirational. And I'm thinking that we need to get this out here.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, we do need to get this out here. And the last thing that we want to do is a movie. And wouldn't it be awesome if we could get Idris Elba to be the lead?
Oh my gosh. We need to talk
Idris, if you're out there.
Right. This is the book. And Mr. Lamel's right next door, and he's doing documentaries and things like that too.
Okay,
So,
okay, good. I'll talk to him about that too.
yeah.
Thank
So, SKST Radio, baby.
This has been Dr. Obi. Listen to SKST Radio.
Okay.
Okay. One more time. This has been Dr. Obi, author of Land of the Rising Sun. Listen to SKST Radio.
Great
All
job.
right.
Okay, so did you want